Hi, Teacher Stephanie here, and I wanted to make a part two to my tips and tricks for working at VIPKID. And this is for people who are just starting with the company and for people who have been with the company for a while. So I hope you guys find it helpful. I'm going to talk about the hiring process first, and then I'll talk about lesson planning, doing trial classes, and leaving feedback for the parents and students, and then billing. So, first with the hiring process, I had to kind of remind myself what the hiring process was like, but it was a very quick process. They have deadlines for each step along the way and make sure that you are keeping with it. So, I'll let you know that first I submitted a resume and I emphasized my teaching experience on there. If you have any ESL teaching experience, make sure to emphasize that. And especially children between the ages of 6 to 12 is what they say. Then they offered me an interview. The interview, I believe it was about 30 minutes, and half of it was him just asking me questions and letting me know about the job and like seeing if I was okay with all the things. I was like, yeah, sounds good. And then he had me do a demo lesson, which is a very short lesson that was only like 7 slides long, and it was teaching the letter B. And so, very simple. I'll show you an example. Pretend this is a B. I'd be like, letter B, sound B. And then I'd be like, bicycle, bicycle. Can you repeat? And then, you try to show props like banana, banana, whatever. Um, so I passed the demo and the interview, and some of the requirements, just so you know, have a native and neutral North American accent, knowledge of phonics. B is B, it's not buh or anything like they want it to be. So watch a YouTube video beforehand on phonics to remind yourself. Positive attitude, engaged, and professional attire with a plain and bright background. And then for the actual demo lesson, a lot of energy, very excited, adapt to the student's need. Sometimes the person that you're talking to will act like they don't know what you mean, so you have to like really try to get it out of them and whatever. Speak slowly and clearly, only using 3 or 4 words per sentence. Make sure the student is speaking during every slide. Use a reward system and good grammar and have a good pacing. That's a big one, pacing. So I passed that, and then I got invited to the practicum, the first practicum. And that practicum, trying to remind myself here, yeah, so that was a full 25-minute class that I taught, and I did it with this lady. She stopped me halfway through, and we kind of talked, and then we finished the rest of the way. And so that was kind of hard, or it might have even been a shortened version of a lesson. I can't remember. Anyways, pacing was my thing. She's like, you're going a little over. I was like, dang, how do I go over? When I was practicing, I went too fast. So, yeah, use props, use a reward system. So, ideas for a reward system, I have a monkey, and then whenever they get a reward, they get a banana. I also have a panda, and when they do something good, they get a bamboo for their panda. I have this little like zoo, and they get these little, animals for their zoo. I don't know, you can come up with whatever. I think they want you to do a smiley face and you add teeth whenever they do something right. And so make it cute, make it fun. You're more likely to get the job if you try. And so if you pass the first practicum, then you don't have to do any more practicums. If there's something that they want you to work on, they will schedule a second practicum. Not a big deal. I'm pretty sure that's like standard actually. Someone said 90% of people do the second practicum. And then when you get hired on, there's a training period before you have to like officially start. Well, no, the training period is before the practicum. If you're feeling like you're not going to make the deadline, just make sure that you go through everything beforehand. Just get it done. You can always go back later and go through it more in detail and more in depth. Anyways, once you're hired on, you just wait for people to start booking you. Just so you know, booking doesn't open until Sunday at noon in Beijing time. So if you are brand new, you're not probably going to get any classes for a little bit. It took me like, a little while to get classes. And so open as many slots as you can do. The more slots you open, the more likely you can get classes scheduled. Okay, let's talk about when you actually are getting into it and your lesson planning. For me, when I lesson plan, I actually create a note, like notes for myself for every single lesson, and I save them as Word documents. And I do that because then when I teach that class again later, maybe like 3 weeks later, I'm like, oh yeah, I taught that class 3 weeks ago. I have my notes still saved, and it's a lot easier for me. I don't have to do any prepping, and I actually have a list of supplies that I will need for each lesson. That's why I save it in a Word document. So I'm like, okay, I need to get a flashcard, big P and small p. I need to get a little, I need to get, I need to get a pepper and a pig. So anyways, I get all my supplies and go for it. And then one thing I do is, like, some kids finish too early, and that's really awkward if you're like, oh, I've got 10 extra minutes. What am I going to do? You're not supposed to finish a class early and just say goodbye. So sometimes I will upload pictures that are relevant to the lesson. And we talked about water sports in one of my classes this morning, and I uploaded pictures of my family and my brother when he was surfing and snorkeling, because that was what the lesson was about. And we talked about how we went snorkeling in Hawaii. It was fun. So I do that just to kind of extend the learning. If you get an assessment that you have to teach, what I do to make it easy to keep track of their score along the way is I get a list from 1 to like 30 of however many slides are in the lesson. And then for each slide that has a test question on it, I number those as well. Test question number 1, test question number 2. And then as I go through the lesson, I'm constantly jotting down their score on a Word document. And then when I'm done with my classes for the day, I go back and I fill out their actual test assessment form. And it's very simple, no-brainer thing. I don't sit there and read the rubric that detailed because they're all pretty much the same. A 2 means they get it, a 1 means you had to help them, but they still got it, and a 0 means they did not get it at all. So, okay, if you have a trial class, for me, I get about 3 or 4 a week. And right now, my percentage of trial kids who actually sign up with VIPKID is about 50%. And I'm hoping that it goes up from there. But 3 things that you're focusing on there. One is at the very beginning, placing the student to the right level. If they're too advanced, move them up to the next level. If they're not there yet, move them down, and just really, really try to get them in the right placement. It sucks if they get placed wrong. That's gonna be very hard for the student. Number 2, make sure they're having fun. Always try to get them to smile or laugh. That would be better. And if you notice that they're not, then I would just kind of like take a little break from the lesson and kind of just pull out some goofy thing you have. Like I've got a puppet. Yeah, here's my puppet. And sometimes they really like to just have like a break and just to laugh, and that's great. For a trial class, laughter is like money because they're going to sign up. Impress the parents. Parents want to hear their child speaking in complete sentences and just speaking English in general, so make sure that rather than, saying yes, no, get them to say, I see a bird. That is a bird, whatever. And hopefully they go well. I mean, they really want you to be extra upbeat for those and extra excited, using rewards very enthusiastically. After you do a class, when you leave feedback, I always end it with something like, thank you for a great lesson, teacher Stephanie. That way they remember my name, and then hopefully that leads to them booking me again. It's kind of like, you got to put your plug in there. And it actually helps. I get repeat students all the time. I've got like, I don't know how many, but I've got a lot of repeat students. Um, if you're leaving the optional feedback, that's good too, because you can put your initials at the end, and then next time if you see a name like Jack is a very common name. I'm like, I don't know, is that a Jack that I taught before, or is this like a new Jack? So I look at the past comments, and if I see my comment on there, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that kid. It's just helpful for you to put your initials and to leave that optional feedback. And then for rewards, yeah, just try to get creative. I have one where they get to plant a mystery seed and see what grows, and I have 5 different little flowers. And so I like pretend like I'm like watering the plant, and then the flower comes up. I don't have it with me right now. Billing, I've never had a problem with billing. I've always been paid, and but I know it's good to keep track of it. I have a spreadsheet that I use. It's awesome. It's one where I can just copy and paste data from the website right into my spreadsheet, and then I can manually add in how much money I'm getting from each class, because you get different bonuses for different things. Like if a kid signs up in a trial class, you get an extra bonus. Or if you get a class that was a last minute one, then it's an extra bonus for that. Um, so it just depends. Not every class is billed the same way. All right, so that's kind of it. Oh, I've moved my location. I was in my bedroom. Now I'm in the spare room, and it's awesome. I love having a little space to call my own. I have like all my stuff, and I would recommend getting like a quiet space and a space that's like your little office, because it helps you really feel more professional, and it makes your job more exciting, in my opinion. So right now I'm doing good with booking. I've gotten to the point now where I always fill all of my spots. So that's good. I don't have a problem with booking. I work about 20 hours a week at this point. And yeah, I hope you guys apply for VIP Kid if you have not already. And I hope if you do apply, you get the job. All right, bye.